Grace and peace. My name is Ryan. I'm the movie pastor. I like to go to the theater and watch a bunch of movies and think about them, but all of the theaters are closed right now. So I'm catching up on some older movies that I didn't get a chance to see when they were fresh. I watched the movie 28 Days Later. You know, it seemed topical, kind of like Outbreak, which I also saw recently, because it deals with a virus and particularly puts the discussion of zombieism into a viral context. Now that is a really, really interesting thing to do. It sends a message. Zombies have always been loaded. Every time we tell stories about zombies, we're telling stories about them. We're telling stories about a group of people that mean something to us. Originally, it was a really racist thing. It was making fun of Islander culture, particularly Haitian culture. And then it evolved. Romero kind of took a new spin on zombies and used it originally as a metaphor about civil rights, and then about consumerism, and then about militarism, and then about class struggles. And he kind of uses zombies for all of these different things. And in Romero movies, he always sides with the zombies. Well, 28 Days Later takes that whole myth and moves it in a new direction by adding to the zombie mythology this idea of viral transmission. This idea that instead of zombies being literally coming back from the dead, these are zombies who have an uncurable illness that spreads from person to person via bites. That's now really common. That's like how we think of zombies. But this was a new idea at the time, and they called the virus rage. And so to take into the zombie mythology, which has become a sponge, it's become a tofu that takes on the flavors of whatever we need it to take on, and to say, I'm going to make that mythology about rage, and I'm going to make rage spread like a virus. I'm going to make an outbreak of rage. Well, that's fascinating. And it takes place in a fascinating historical context, because let me show you. See, this book that I've had on my shelf actually just comes out a couple years before this. And there's this concept that Malcolm Gladwell starts to explain to us where he says, hey, ideas can be viral. Ideas can spread, and those ideas can spread via the same patterns, the same mathematics that we see viruses spread. And the way viruses spread is you've got some people who are contagious, and they go around and they connect to a lot of different people, and then the viruses adapt and change, and they reach a place for the population that really satisfies them, and then they go to more and more people, and each person spreads more of the virus in it. And so for Gladwell, he's talking about things like hush puppies. Why is it that people are wearing these kind of shoes, and a few people start wearing them, and more people and more people. And that's common knowledge now. I mean, the idea of wanting something to go viral, we talk about that constantly, but that was new. That was 1998. It's 2 years later. We're making 28 Days Later, and we're talking about, hey, what if rage goes viral? What if violent impulses and hatred and wanting to destroy others goes viral? And then there's, of course, another really important historical context to that movie, that it was written before and came out after the 9/11 attacks. So what about terrorism? What if terrorism goes viral? And what about anti-terrorism and militarism and frothing at the mouth and trying to destroy terrorism goes viral and spreads via this recognizable pattern, the pattern that we're seeing right now with coronavirus. In the movie, the director does a really interesting thing that actually was also done in Night of the Living Dead by Romero, where he introduces a set of antagonists who are not zombified, but are just as bad, if not worse. And in 28 Days Later, that's a military group. And he begins to ask the question, the same question Romero asked, are these people zombies? Are the zombies any worse for their zombification than these people who have these violent and selfish and particularly sexually depraved appetites? So sexual sin is used and understood. You know, it says in the Bible that before the creation of the world, we knew the law of God. We knew that there was right and wrong about sexuality, and we see that in this movie. I mean, it's horrific, more horrific than the monsters that are eating people's faces. The question becomes, if there's a literal virus going around, and there's a literal thing that kills people, and there's a metaphorical virus going around that says that you're better than others and you deserve to kill, and you maybe even get to enjoy it and take pleasure in the fact that you enjoy it. Which is worse? And in the midst of that discussion, it's a fascinating discussion, there is this meta reality, this in front of the camera reality, that I'm watching it now 20 years later, and 28 Days Later has gone viral. And that idea, that rejigging of the zombie myth has entered into the public consciousness and understanding. The idea of viral transmission of ideas has gone viral. And so as much as we have these bad things going viral, we have good things that go viral. And as much as we have obnoxious BuzzFeed articles and listicles that go viral, we have pastors and people spreading hope and community in the same means. So how do we ensure that the good things go viral as well as the bad things? There's no hope for that in 28 Days Later. There is no possibility, no glimmer of witness there seen in that movie. But that's a piece of the discussion I'd like to add. I don't know. Would that work in a zombie movie? You should tell me. Sound off in the comments and engage and like, comment, subscribe, do those kind of things.
And when in scenes of glory I sing the new song, 'twill be the old story that I